Hey everybody, I'm Allie and this is Treat Yourself, and today I'm going to be filming my September wrap-up. So the reason why I have not posted in a few weeks is because, number one, life has been so busy that I just can't even right now. So I haven't had a whole bunch of time to film, but I did try to film a certain video that should be coming out sometime after this one, and literally my camera, it was blurry for like 3 different takes. One of them I looked real good and I had my makeup all beat, and yeah, it just didn't work out. So a little bit frustrated at that. And then after that happened and I tried to edit literally a blurry video, I was like, in this month I read 12 books, and I actually originally had 10 books, but I am interning for a publishing company, and so I read like copies to revise, so I'm gonna count that because I read 2 books for that this month, and we're just gonna count it. So the first book that I read was Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens, and this is literally like, it's as good as it's hyped up to be. Like, at the beginning I was like, why do people like this book? It's so slow. And she really does set the scene like for a while. Like, I was like, I already know what the South is like because I live in the South. But as the book progressed, it got way better. It's basically about this girl named Kaya, and they call her the Marsh Girl because literally all her family has left her. And she lives on the North Carolina coast, and she basically, her whole life is just loneliness. She tries to have a couple of relationships throughout her life and they just don't pan out. And then in alternate chapters, the like golden boy of the town later, like in later years, has been found dead near the marsh. So they're like, oh, the Marsh Girl did it. So there's like an investigation, blah blah blah. And this is just a really, really good literary fiction kind of read. I gave it 5 stars. I think it is definitely impressive, and she's such a good writer. Like, she's very good at diction and explaining, like descriptive writing. It's just so good, and so I really, really enjoyed this, and I think you will too. Also, Reese's Book Club, I'm trying to read all of the books on her book club because literally not one book on her book club has disappointed me yet, so love it. And then the next book that I read was Clean by Amy Reed, and this is a YA contemporary, and I gave it 3 stars just because I don't like YA, and you can just really tell that this is YA contemporary writing. But it is about these teenagers, Olivia, Kelly, Christopher, Jason, and Eva, and they have one thing in common: they're all addicts. So they're in rehab all together, and it's just basically tellings of their lives and like how they came to this place. There's some like family drama, and then there's also some family like reconnection, which I really loved, because you don't really hear about that a lot when you're talking about drug addiction most of the time. And so Eva, actually, like, her narrative was super good. Like, I really, really loved her writing and her chapters. Like, but it was 3 stars for me because I have read way better books on drug addiction that I enjoyed a lot more, like Beautiful Boy, obviously. And then also it was just written like a young adult contemporary novel, so I just didn't love it. And the next book that I read was In 5 Years by Rebecca Surley, and I literally loved this book so much. I gave it 5 stars. This prompted me to read another one of hers this month that I will talk about later, but In 5 Years is basically about this woman, and she like has the perfect life. She's planned her life out. Like, she's a 1 on the Enneagram like me. You can tell from like the first page that she's a 1. She has just landed her dream job, and then the same night she gets engaged to her boyfriend of a long time. I don't remember how long they've been dating. But then when she goes to sleep at that night, she has a dream about this guy who she like literally wakes up in like a different apartment, and it's 5 years later, and this guy is there, and like he starts kissing her and stuff, and she's like, what is happening? And so then she wakes up and she's like back to being engaged to her original boyfriend. But she's like, that was real. Like, that wasn't a dream. Or if it was a dream, it was like a prophetic dream and stuff like that. So she's like super, super confused, and it affects their relationship for the next 5 years. And then this one like really got me because I was expecting, like, this is contemporary romance, but I was expecting the romance to be like the main staple of the book, but it wasn't, and it really ended on a note that I really liked. Like, I feel like the route that it was headed, I would not have rated this 5 stars, but the ending was so good, made me cry. Like, I don't cry at books, and it made me bawl my eyes out one night, and so I really, really loved that book, and I will be reading everything from her from now on because I love her writing. Next one I read was Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. I gave this 4 stars. This is from Jonathan Safran-Foer, I think that's how you say his last name. But it is a literary fiction novel as well. Like, one of my friends actually had to read it in high school. This little boy, and his name's Oscar, and his dad dies in 9/11. And so it's basically a telling of like his grief and his loss and how he still wants to be connected with his dad even though he's passed. And then also switches chapters to like be the grandmother's point of view and the grandfather's point of view and the mom's point of view and stuff like that. And the only reason that I gave this 4 stars over 5 stars is that the chapters are really hard to keep up with. Like, I don't know who's talking sometimes until in the middle of the chapter when they like give away who they are. It's really emotional, but it's very hard to keep track of sometimes because it's literally like you're just reading their thoughts. So it was a little discombobulated at times, but I think this is a really, really good book. And I finished it on 9/11, so I thought that was pretty good tribute to the day. And then the next one that I read was The Whisper Man by Alex North, and this is a horror book, and I only gave this 3 stars because it was slow for me. I don't really like Alex North's writing. I really wanted to try it out after reading The Shadows, but I definitely liked The Shadows more than The Whisper Man. It's basically about this guy who is called the Whisper Man because he whispers at night to young boys and then murders them, and he's already put into prison, and then like 15 years later or something, it's happening again even though the guy is still in prison. So it's like a copycat killer, and they're trying to figure it out. Like a regular trope of horror, especially like murder stories where the copycat murderer comes out, blah blah blah, and I just didn't love it. Like, it freaked me out at times, but I wouldn't say that I was scared. I wouldn't even call this really a horror. I would call it a thriller. And then the next one that I read that I was probably the most disappointed about was The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. This is a thriller novel, and I gave this 3 stars because I simply did not like it. Like, she's a hit or miss for me now, and I used to think that like she would always just make me so happy with her writing, but Turn of the Key I just did not like. I don't know why. It was like really slow. I predicted the ending, and then there was also like a random affair at the end that was like a scandal, and it's like Ruth Ware just wanted to put like some more drama in there. I don't know. I didn't really love it. I didn't even really like the nanny. Like, so this story is about a nanny who goes to live with this family and is basically just left alone with the kids on her first day, and crazy stuff starts happening. There's like a lot of random noises, and she lives near the attic, and there's I don't know, just the regular tropes of the thriller, but I thought that this was not done very well, and I gave it 3 stars, and this is definitely a hyped up book, in my opinion, that just is like disappointed me big time. Next one was The Dinner List by Rebecca Surley. I gave this 5 stars. It was a romance, contemporary romance kind of thing, like In 5 Years. So freaking good. I probably liked In 5 Years a little bit better, but they were so different in my opinion. Like, this is more of a romance than a contemporary like In 5 Years is, and it's basically about this girl, and she answers the question, if you could have dinner with 5 people, dead or alive, who would they be? And then she has like some kind of weird dream on her 30th birthday where they're all sitting in at the table with her, and some are dead, some are alive. She has her best friend, her ex-boyfriend, well, ex-fiance. She has her dad who has passed, her favorite professor, which that's like something that I would do, and Audrey Hepburn is there as well. So it's a crazy mix, but it's so freaking good. Alternate chapters, you get the story of her and her ex-fiance and why they're not together, and you're like longing for them to be together, and then there's a lot of twists and turns and you don't even see it coming, and it makes you cry so bad at the end. And this just was a whirlwind. Like, I was like depressed after reading this one and In 5 Years, but her writing style is so freaking good that I will literally read anything that she writes. Next book that I read was The Wives by Taryn Fisher, and it's a thriller, and I gave this 4 stars, but I feel like I would give it like 3.5, 3 looking back on it. It was just bizarre, honestly. There's this girl, and she is married to this guy who is a Mormon, like polygamist or whatever. Her name's Thursday, and he's like with the other girls on the other days, but like Thursday he comes home to her and they're the only ones that are legally married. He just basically is having affairs with 2 other people, and she knows about it, and it's just a crazy thing. And then she's like second guessing herself, and she finds out the identities of the other 2 girls, and she's like super confused. There's just a lot that happens, and I feel like I didn't like the ending. It was just crazy and weird, and I feel like Taryn Fisher is just weird, in my opinion. Like, no offense, but your writing is weird. So, I don't really have much to say about that. Yeah, I don't really know how to even feel about that book. And then the next one that I read was Killing Christians, Living the Faith Where It's Not Safe to Believe by Tom Doyle. And this was a really, really good book. It's a Christian living book. I gave it 4 stars. It is about Christians in the Middle East who are facing death every single day because Christianity is not accepted in the Middle East. So it literally like hits you right in the feels, because you're like, oh, I live in the US and I don't have to fight for my faith ever, really. So wow, like, this was crazy. Real life stories of people who are martyred for their faith and who literally risk being martyred every single day for their faith, and it was just really an enlightening experience. And I hadn't read a Christian living book in a while, so it really got me back on track, I think, and it just really opens your eyes to like how much we don't have to sacrifice in the US for our faith. And the last like fictional book other than my internship that I read was Bird Box by Josh Malerman. I gave this 5 stars. It was so freaking good. It's a horror book. A lot of my friends don't like the movie, which I think is interesting, but I'm going to watch the movie probably tonight just to see like the different similarities and differences. I just love reading books and then watching the movies and seeing the differences. It was creepy. It's about this woman who has 2 kids, and they're living in a crazy world where you cannot open your eyes when you go outside because there's creatures that look into your eyes, I guess, and make you kill yourself. So, and then her ultimate goal is to get her children and herself across the river blindfolded to go to this like safe house, like seeking a better life because they're running out of food and all this other stuff. And it's just like a crazy time. And in alternate chapters, it's like goes from present to past, and how she used to live with like 9 other people in the house that she's living in now with only her 2 kids, and how like what happened to all of them. And it is crazy, and I cannot wait to read Mallory. I went to the library today and I was trying to get Mallory, but they did not have it at this point in time, so I was very sad about that. But I really do need to get into other books that I have on my TBR anyways, so it was probably best that they didn't have Mallory. And then I read 2 books for my publishing internship that I revised and everything. The first one was The Asean Warrior by Treaty Adams. I'm guessing that you say it like that. I gave this 3 stars. It would probably be like 3.5 though, in my opinion. I thought it was really good. It's basically about this girl named Adalia, and this also is a an author from New Zealand, so the names and like terms and stuff are a little different than US reads. But it's about this girl named Adelia, and she is a warrior, and she wakes up and has forgotten literally everything that's happened. She doesn't know what's happening. They're in the midst of a war, and she's super confused and has to rely on God. And the last one that I read for my internship was called Jordan's Deliverance by Alan Stedham, or Stedham, I don't know. But this was like a science fiction kind of thing, and it's basically about this girl named Jordan, and she is born on Earth, but then she's abducted by aliens and goes to a different planet, and then like becomes the queen of the different planet, and then she comes back to Earth. And this was actually the third book in the series, and I haven't obviously read the other books in the series, so I was super lost most of the time, so I really had to like focus on just editing it, and because I didn't really understand what was happening. So I gave this 2 stars because I was super confused. But I think it was a really good book to revise and like work on, because it was very challenging for me, and I usually don't read that genre, so I thought it was pretty good. Those are all the 12 books that I have for you. I had 1 2-star, 4 3 stars, 3 4 stars, and 4 5 stars, which is really good for me because usually I do not have a whole bunch of 5 stars in 1 month. And I cannot wait for October because, number 1, spooky season. We love it. We love to see it. My TBR should be coming out sometime when I can, you know, like get my camera to working for more than just 1 video. I have spookiness happening in October, and then I also have a classics readathon, which is weird to be in October, but it's for my book club, and so I'm going to read some classics this month and hopefully just kind of get back into my love for classics, because I haven't read a bunch of classics in a while. So that is my October reading plans. I will probably be making another video talking about my little random fall TBR, but comment down below if you liked any of these books, or if you didn't like some of the books that I liked, and vice versa. If you liked Turn of the Key, just like please comment and tell me why you liked Turn of the Key, because I really don't understand. I will see you in my next video, guys. Bye bye.